I hope all is going well and you're having a beautiful, blessed day today. Today is a very special day, or the day before a very special day. Tomorrow, October 21st, is the first anniversary of this podcast, Encouragement Notes. So, today, I would like to share with you some things that I've learned over this past year. It has been quite a year in my life, taking a lot of dips and dives and having good stuff and bad stuff in it, but God has always been loving and kind and gracious through it. So I want to take a few minutes of your time and tell you 10 things that I've learned over this past year. And so number one is the most important one. Know that you are created by God and you only have one purpose in life. That one purpose is to glorify God. If in fact you consider yourself a child of God and saved by His grace and have accepted that gift of His salvation, your whole purpose in life is to glorify Him with everything you do. And He will lead you on a journey of things that He wants you to do. And I once learned in church that God's will for us is not like a blueprint where everything is all laid out from beginning to end. It is, but it is laid out like a game plan, not a blueprint. A game plan has a couple of specific things that He wants us to accomplish. But then we can make changes to the way we get to those things, as long as we keep Him as the center of our mind and our coach and our Father, and keep that constant conversation going with Him in prayer. Number two, it's okay to take baby steps. Just start moving towards something. So the example that I want to use for that point is this podcast. I created this podcast 1 year ago tomorrow because I heard a podcast by my friend and mentor, my digital friend and mentor, Amy Langino, who said that the advice that nobody wants to hear is start small. So I took that advice and I ran with it that day because I really felt God calling me to get my story out there on another platform. And I'm like, oh, podcasting might be interesting. And I don't have to do anything as far as background in order to get my message out there. I could just simply turn on my phone and start talking. Well, as you could see, my strategy for my podcasting has changed a little bit. But the concept is still the same. All you have to do is just start. Number 3, do not label yourself or anybody else in a negative way. Because if you label yourself or anybody else, you're holding yourself back, or you may be holding somebody else back. Even by simply saying, oh, I don't think you'll be able to do that. You need a little bit more practice in order to be able to do that. even saying that without thinking is a way that you can essentially hold somebody back. Number 4 kind of piggybacks on number 3, but number 4 is speak your mind and do it tactfully. Say what you want to say in your heart. Speak your heart, but do it tactfully. Proverbs 18:21 has become one of my favorite verses about speaking. And it is, the tongue can bring death or life. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences. So that means you can either choose to lift somebody up and just light a fire under them and have them feel the best they can because they're around you and because they heard that they are capable of something, that they are capable of doing something. Or you can totally tear down a person with what you say and make them feel like all they want to do is hide under a rock. But you, as the deliverer of that message, are responsible for what you say. You reap the consequences. Those who love to talk will reap the consequences. So speak your mind and do it tactfully. And by the way, if you need to tell somebody something and you think it's tugging on your heart so bad that you need to tell it. Because life is short and we don't know how long we have in this life. So moving on to number 5. Dress up in small ways every day. I have learned this so well and taken it in so deeply that I do try to dress up in small ways every day. As a matter of fact, I changed my top because of this podcast, because of today's podcast edition, but I was wearing a regular gray t-shirt up until 5 minutes ago, but I had my necklace on and I had my earrings on. So at the very least, I try to always have my jewelry on, and that makes me feel dressed up. 6, education and schooling are not the same thing. They are two totally different things, and very often if one generation is speaking to another generation, they might put emphasis on, how much schooling did you have? Or did you go to school to get your master's? Or did you go to school to get your bachelor's? Or did you go to school to get your associates? And they might put value of you as a person in your education, or in your schooling. But your value as a person lies within your heart and it lies within your education. And do not confuse the two. Because I believe, and I have always believed, always being in my older years, so from my 20s on, that people can use people can use schooling in order to hide from actually getting something accomplished. And the way that they do that is by saying, I'm not ready. I need to take this class, or I need to take that class. I need to get my associates. I need to get my master's. I need to get my doctorate. And those are all good things. But we need to have a mindset of I need to do something, actually take action on something and do something if I want to see something grow. Let's see, where was I? Number 7. Change will only come if you want it to. People can say that you need to do something all day, every day of your life. People can should on you every day of your life. You should do this, or you should do that. Or you know what? You're a good writer, but you need to go back to school. No, you do not need to go back to school in order to be a good writer. You need to start writing in order to be a good writer. And I know that I kind of backtracked on the education thing, but that is one example that I have heard very recently. And to continue with the change, you need to want it more than other people want it for you. I was so dead set against using a wheelchair for years. It was 13 years that I had not been a wheelchair user, purely out of, oh my gosh, what are they going to think of me? Or, oh my gosh, if I run into a physical therapist that I once had in the past, they're going to think I'm a failure. And I don't want to look weak in front of this person. I don't want to look weak in front of that person. What are they going to think of me? Well, guess what, you guys? Because I've started using my chair, my life has changed drastically, as you guys know, within the last month. So don't be afraid to change, but it needs to come from you and not anybody else. So that leads me to the 8th point. Sometimes you have to go backwards in order to go forward in life. If I had stopped growing and stopped moving in my life and said that I don't want to use a chair, I will never ever use a chair again, that may seem like I am being strong. That may seem like I have a good head on my shoulders, but what is actually happening is I'm holding myself back from my potential. I'm holding myself back from being part of a community. And so don't be afraid to take a step back in order to move forward. Number 9, choose the opinions you take seriously, carefully. Not everybody's opinion is going to matter in 5 minutes or 5 years. When I stopped using my chair the first time, I was 26, ending college, and a lot of my friends infamously know the story, and maybe you do too. I was told after doing an exercise, an assignment in my improv class, where we had to stand in front of the class and tell about ourselves. Everything about ourselves that we wanted people to know, that made us us. I was asked after class, how do we describe you? Where I just felt like I had poured my heart out. I had poured my heart and soul out on that stage. And yet, I was asked, how do we describe you? Because the person that asked me that question was not listening to me and only chose to see the outside. So, number 10 is don't be afraid to be a late bloomer. At least you are growing. I am the definition of a late bloomer. There's a lot of things that I still haven't done in life, and there's a lot of things that I want to do in life and that I hope that God has in his plan for me. But at least I'm taking those little tiny baby steps and starting to grow. So I hope that this touches somebody. I hope that this finds you well. And if you haven't subscribed to my podcast yet, please do. Again, it's called Encouragement Notes if in fact you are watching a video of the podcast. But if you are on the podcast app, please go ahead and share the episode with your family and friends. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful, beautiful, blessed day. And thank you so much for listening and for being my audience this year. I'm not going anywhere. I just got really excited and wanted to deliver this a little bit early. So, God bless you guys. I love you and thank you. Bye.